So what I'm bringing in here is an image that's actually quite a reasonable size to start with. So I'm in Gigapixel 8 and I'm looking at the dimensions or the original size of this image, and it's 1920 by 2560 pixels, which is actually a pretty good size and definitely larger than the images I would normally bring into upscale in Topaz. So what I'm going to do here is just show you what you can do with an already decently large image. So I'm really going to push this one in terms of size. So I'm going to go, first of all, I'm just going to zero out my other settings to make sure I'm on that's like a default starting point. I'm going to go all the way up to 6 times upscale on this, which I wouldn't normally do, but I'm just going to do it and go for it and see what we get. So it's going to take a while to actually update the preview. It still says upscaling in the bottom left corner here of the preview window. Now it's finished upscaling. So if I click my mouse and hold my mouse button down, that's showing you the before, and then I let go, and that's showing you the updated version. So I mean, already you can see it's just making lines look nice and crisp and not blocking pixelated. We'll look at this at 100% view at 6 times upscale. So we'll give it a minute to update. So that's the updated image as it stands. If I click on my mouse down, but that's what it actually looks like before any processing. So obviously we're in way close here because the image has been made so large. But what you can do here is really get a good impression and a good view of the texture and detail you're managing to preserve or even enhance with Topaz Gigapixel. So I'm going to go down here to the basic models, and I'm going to A/B test the standard and the high fidelity version, as I tend to do with images like this. Now this is a photograph from a stock site, so it's not AI or anything like that. I'm just going to judge these images based on what it gives me. Okay, well straight away on this one it's quite clear for me, even just based on this glance, high fidelity it's going to be, because on the standard V2 side there seems to be a strange like pattern. It almost looks like it's been badly cloned or fits in there, whereas it's a little bit more uniform on the right hand side. Well, let's just move to some fruit and see when that updates if I feel the same. Just got a little bit more crisper detail. Yeah, high fidelity V2 it is for me on this one. Now I am actually going to zoom out a little bit so we can just see a bit more in one time. Okay, so down the spoon, the blueberries and the drink. So wait for that update. It will take a few seconds to update, especially on my slightly older M1 MacBook. Okay, so there we go. Now we can come down to the sharpen, denoise and fix compression. Now because this image is quite large and the dimensions are now huge, I could probably get away with sharpening it quite a bit. It tends to be a bit more of a subtle process when the image is quite big, because you've got more pixels to go around. So I think I can probably take this sharpening fairly high, maybe to 40, something like that. I'm looking at the edges of the metal. Once it updates in a second, it still says initializing. Okay, so I'm looking at the edge of the metal, I'm looking at the fruit, and what you want to look out for is you're not introducing any kind of strange halos around high contrast edges, which is indicative of like over sharpening or any overly crunchy looking textures, which, like I said, it is easier to do when the image is smaller, when it's this big, because if you look at the output size now, it's 11520 by 15360, so a pretty massive file by anyone's standards. But if we click and drag, so it's switching between the preview and then preview on and off, we can just see some really nice, we give it a second in this update, there we go, we can see some really nice texture in this, and the wood, it all looks very natural, and this image is now absolutely huge. So if I go to 25%, we can really get an idea of how big this image is. If I go to 100% again, this file is absolutely massive now. And I mean, look, even like the little drops in the tea, the little bubbles there in the tea have been preserved. And when this updates in a second, we'll get a nice look along the edge of this. Yeah, the texture, I mean, that is pretty incredible. When you do super big upscales in Topaz, it's really when I find myself getting really impressed with it, because if you give it a good quality image going in, you can go really big without it losing any quality. So fantastic.